So hi everyone, we are back again for another video, and we have Praful with us. Hello Praful.
Hi, Kenny.
Yeah. So today we will look at something not specifically Kotlin, but it is on the side of Kotlin, right? So whenever we're using the IDE to build or run our Kotlin programs or even Java programs, so what is happening under the hood? And I feel like for me, it has been a good exploration to think beyond the IDE and understand, what is actually happening, because that will give a deeper understanding about any issues that you want to debug later on. If your build is not working, or even if you want to set up your CI/CD and all those kind of stuff, it is good to know what is happening under the hood. So, Profil, what do you think about it?
Yeah, this kind of build tool, we can have a casual discussion about it. And it evolved a lot, in the Java and Kotlin. Kotlin was not there at the time. I used to do build using Ant scripting. So that was very tedious.
Okay.
Now the process is much more simplified using Gradle, but I'm more comfortable with the Maven build.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So then, so my first question here is like, okay, why do we need the build system? What is your thought process on a build system in general, not necessarily specific to our Java world or in general?
Yeah, if you are just a beginner or writing simple programs just to test, then build system may not be essential. Because you can write small program, just to verify your logic. But usually in a project, your dependency will grow drastically. And a dependency means you may be using some other project, jar project in a Java or Kotlin world, it is jar, or some other, JavaScript, it is node modules or NP modules. So what will happen if today you use one version? So there may be some bug fixes. So that dependency project also evolve in the time. So sometimes they are compatible with your changes, sometimes they are not compatible. So just to manage the dependency, this build project are very much helpful.
Got it.
And also, yeah, go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah. So is it only in the context of the dependency that we need a build system, or is there some other reason for it?
Not only dependency, that is one of the major feature we can say, but there are lots of other stuffs we can automate. For example, if you written some unit test cases, so before you deploy, you want to run those unit test cases automatically, so that if the unit test is fine, then you only should deploy to production or some other environment. So also, like the packaging, like to create the jar file, that is one very common use case, because you written your Java source code or Kotlin source code, but at the end of the day, you have to compile it or create a package. That is the primary responsibility of the build script, to generate the deployable units.
Got it.
So what do you think, Kenny? You can add on a few things on top of it.
Yeah, for me also, I think that part of automation is something that like that is something I find very valuable. Because typically, if you look at what I understand in terms of Java, is that you will have to do the compile on your local machine, and then you have to run it using Java. So Java C to compile, and then Java to run the program. Or I think for Kotlin, similarly, Kotlin C and Kotlin. So that is good enough for development. I mean, for anyone starting out also. But once you're coming to actual creating a proper fat jar or an executable output from the different dependencies and all these things, then there might be a lot of commands also that will be very intricate, that you will have some flags to add, some environment variables to set, and all those things that you would have to keep in your mind essentially, right? And you would have to keep on configuring it every time you need to create a build. So this whatever build system you're using. So typically you will be able to configure it once, and then it will be taking care of all these small steps for you, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true, Ken.
yeah, and in the Node.js world, I think NPM does a pretty good job, right? And I think it is also about standardizing a few things. For example, if you take any node project, you can kind of assume that you can run npm start, right? And you can assume that the code will work. And if you have any doubts, you know exactly where to go, right? In terms of, you can look at the package JSON and you can see that, okay, what are the scripts that are available. So that kind of a visibility is also kind of a form of documentation, right? And makes it easier for someone else to quickly onboard onto an existing project, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So coming to Gradle, so my first experience with Gradle has been with Android only. So that was, I think, in 2014 at that time. And my first impression was that it was pretty bloated, or it was a little slow to run. That was that was my initial impression overall of Android as well. At that time, Android Studio was seen as a pretty huge memory hog, similar to what Chrome is seen as. So that way, Gradle had a bit of a bad impression in my head, at least at that time. And it was a case where I was in college, so I did not have any real pressing need to continue doing any Android development at that time. So I just explored it and left it. But now recently for work, I have resumed with Android. I've started to learn Android again. And along with that direction, then again came Gradle. And I was dreading it initially. Okay, Gradle is so slow. And I've heard this comment from other people also, that say, okay, Gradle is a little complicated, or it's difficult to understand, or it takes a long time. And coming from TypeScript and Node.js world, where you just run npm run and then it's done. Things are fast, and I felt I was a little and like scared about starting with Gradle. But actually, once I started to put some time and effort into understanding what Gradle is doing and how it does it, and different kind of configuration files that are being expected of it, right? And actually running that Gradle to create a project from scratch. So compared to just using IntelliJ IDEA or Android Studio, and also creating multiple libraries and being able to configure it and see it work. And then I understood, okay, so this thing has a lot of power, and it is configured in a very intelligent way also. So I feel like there is a lot of value there, but mostly people will only see the surface level of it, and they'll think, oh, it is too complicated, especially coming from a front end side. Do you feel a similar thing, Praful?
Yeah, initially I was a bit very particular about learning each and every syntax, but slowly I realized that it is not very much essential. Because in most of the project, right, like the Maven build setup done once, and we rarely touch up the Maven POM file again, Maven or Gradle. Maven is like POM file is popular, like pom.xml, and Gradle is kind of some property file syntax, I believe. So Gradle is like use the same repository of Maven, but it is a bit simplified one. Because that is XML based, more thing you have to write, and Gradle is not XML based. So initially, there is if you open a existing POM file in a big project, then you may get confused.
Yeah.
There are different tags for but once you get slowly you keep on opening each and every time, after a couple of times you'll get familiar with that. So as I said, it is mostly used to give some name, package name, like project ID, those sort of thing, and managing the dependency. And there are certain plugins available for making the life a bit easier.
And I think what you're also saying is that it is about reading code or reading the configuration and understanding from the simpler aspects, right?
Yeah, that's true. But usually it takes some time to get used to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if you spend lots of time, energy into reading documentation, then you will be lost. So it may not be give that much value addition, Because earlier
Yes.
what I used to do, I used to spend each and every tag. So that I don't know the solution yet. But going through each and every tag and understanding everything, some people like having to know in depth. So these are the
Hmm. Hmm.
tool. Once you really need it, then only better to explore it.
That's true. And I don't think any of the beginners will have to start learning Gradle at any point until they get a little more advanced, and then they have to configure their own projects, right?
Yeah, and nowadays like boilerplate code, like for example, Maven initializer or this Gradle
Hmm.
initialization project, will generate kind of skeleton,
Hmm.
and it will generate the starting configuration file. You don't need to write by
Hmm.
hand. So only thing,
Yeah.
if you have some specific requirement, you can Google it and try to edit slowly. Or if you run into
Hmm.
some issue, then you have to,
Hmm.
troubleshoot on that. But getting some basic idea or general idea would definitely helpful. Why you need it,
Hmm.
and what are the main component of it, and what are the things you are commonly changing. So those are the
Hmm.
things you'll slowly get comfortable. That would be very helpful.
Hmm. And I think this is the similar case in terms of Git also, because most people will use a UI for Git. And that is, to be fair, that is a good way to get started with learning the Git. But then when it comes to a little bit of, a little complicated issue, or, some merge conflict or something, then people start to get scared actually, because they don't know what is happening with Git at that time. So same way, I have felt like that, reading documentation alone does not help. I have to dive in and I have to try things like for Git, just creating an empty repository and creating some random commits, creating branches and all those things, using the command line and trying to build my own mental idea about okay how this is working. And that way is what helps me for Git, and in this case, understanding Gradle also. Especially because we had to have a custom configuration for our project with a lot of sub modules. So without understanding that configuration, I would never have been able to implement it correctly.
Yep, that's true. Okay.
Yeah. So I think yeah, that's about it in terms of getting started with why we need to have the build system and why we need to look under the hood. So it's always a balance where you have to decide when you need to take a look under the hood. It's not that you have to jump in all the time for any language. Mostly you can just start by experimenting with whatever you know, and then you can keep learning as the situation requires, and not simply first of all starting learning and just doing it all that way. Maybe we can try to see tomorrow, the next day we can take a look at how we can set up a Gradle project from the command line, and maybe we can see what are the simplest files or the basic files that are required in any Gradle project. How does that sound?
Yeah, that would be exciting. Seeing some code and discussing about it would be definitely helpful. Kenny.
Great, great. And I think we can also use VS Code, which is natively not intended for Java or Kotlin development, as you already understood. So we will use a command line and also like using VS Code to change the code.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, any other thoughts, Praful?
No, for today it is fine. Maybe once we see some configuration, we can talk more about in detail and share our own experience on those tools and configuration.
Okay, great. Okay, then that's about it, everyone. Then thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.